Good morning, students. Today I am going to start a new chapter, that is government budget and the economy. Well, children, do you all know what the budget means? Well, in a simple language, you can say budget is an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period of time. That means budget in a simple language, a language of a layman, could be where a person tries to adjust his income along with his expenditure for a set period of a time. But if we talk about a government budget, well, children, government budget is the annual statement showing expected receipts and expected expenditure of the government for the financial year. And do you know that every year on 1st of February, the finance minister of a country presents the annual budget of the government. And when this budget is being presented, then it unfolds two things. First, the financial performance of the government over the past 1 year. And second, the financial programs and policies of the government for the coming year. So children, the programs and policies of the government which have been presented here in the budget are known as budgetary policy of the government or fiscal policy of the government, which consists of or has two aspects. First is revenue aspect and second is expenditure aspect, because budget consists of revenue aspect also and expenditure aspect also, where revenue side is known by the name of receipts of the government and expenditure is known by the name of expenditure of the government. So while making this government budget, it has been kept in mind that the budgetary revenue and budgetary expenditure of the government should be in such a way that it should increase the GDP along with the stability of the economy. So that means government budget is a statement of expected receipts and expected expenditure of the government that reveals the budgetary policy of the government to achieve twin objectives, that is growth with stability. Well, now, what are objectives of government budget? Children, there are different objectives of government budget which has been kept while preparing a budget so that these objectives could be achieved. So if we talk about these objectives, the first one goes with the GDP growth. That means that while preparing the budget, the GDP growth is been given the priority because that is the main objective of the government budgetary policy, and which could be achieved by making public investment on infrastructure and by including the private investment through tax rebates and subsidies. So both these things have been considered while a budget is being prepared. Secondly, a balanced regional growth. That means whenever a budgetary policy has been made, then the government keeps a priority that in that the development of the backward areas should be kept in priority. That means that the areas which are backward, those areas have to be uplifted, in the sense government establishes special economic zones where the areas which are backward, they have been uplifted by giving them the, let's say, the liberal tax. So such laws have been implemented in those regions which are backward. Then the next is allocation or reallocation of resources. That means how to use the resources in such a way that the welfare could also be done at the same time. Now if we talk about let's say about a market economy, you will find that market economy allocates the resources or uses the resources in such a way that they can maximize their profit, but they fail to achieve the welfare, though social welfare is totally lost in market economies. Whereas in government budget, in the budgetary policy of the government, it is kept that at the same time where the profit has been earned, the welfare also has to be done. But if we talk about the economies where market economies, they are busy in producing the goods which gives them a good amount of money, whereas they fail to produce the goods which could be used collectively by the society. Here we can say that they are least interested about the pollution free environment. The reason because the private investors are not ready to invest for the creation of any pollution free environment. So social welfare is totally lost over here. They are more interested in making more of our money. So these market economies, they totally fail to account for a negative externalities of production. Means they are more interested in building the, in construction of the high buildings just to earn more profit, but at the cost of what? At the cost of environment, because they reduce the forest cover and that does a serious damage to the environment. So while making the budgetary policy, the government has to reallocate the resources in such a way that along with the profit, the social welfare could also be maintained. Then the next, redistribution of income and wealth. When we talk about this distribution of income and wealth, if we talk about a country like India, you will find that the distribution of income, or the wealth, is been squeezed, highly squeezed. Over here you find that the gap between rich and poor is widening up. So that's an alarming effect for the government to plan the budgetary policy in such a way to solve this problem of a huge gap between rich and poor, and that the government does it by its taxation and subsidies policies. These are two instruments which have been used by the government, like by imposing the taxes on rich and by providing the subsidies to the poor. The government tries to redistribute the income, in favor of poorer sections in comparison to the rich. The government over here also supplies the food grains to BPL population, that is below poverty line population, at a very normal price, and that helps to raise the quality of the life of the BPL families. Then employment opportunities. Now again, this is a priority of the budgetary policy of the government. They try to focus more on the generation of employment opportunities. So they invest, lot of investment is done in public enterprises so that more of the services could be generated and the employment could be provided to the people. Like government has started the program like MGNREGA, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which was launched by the government to offer employment to the poor section of society. Now, employment to the poor means, a long way in reducing the inequalities of income. So that could help the poor people to get the employment, and that can help them to raise the income on a regular basis. Then the last one, that is economic stability. When we talk about economic stability, means correcting the situation of excess demand or deficient demand, or you can say inflationary and deflationary gaps. Children, economic stability is very, very important, and it has been totally focused on the budgetary policy of the government. The government, it tries the situation of inflation and deflationary gap by reducing the government expenditure and increasing the revenue. So deflationary gap is corrected by increasing the government expenditure and decreasing the revenue. So what exactly the government keep in mind while preparing this budgetary policy, that they keep in mind that they have to promote a balanced regional growth. At the same time they have to uplift the poor section of society so that even they can share the fruits of growth. Then same time they bring the balanced regional growth also by giving the tax rebates and subsidies, and at the same time government also tries to bring the stability along with the GDP by managing its revenue and expenditure in such a way, that the inflationary and deflationary pressures could be somehow minimized or could be reduced, and the government tries to impart this stability to the process of growth. So these are the different kinds of objectives which are been given priority in the budgetary policy of the government. Thank you.